Each class has 2 weapon slots. Ooh, and you can switch between them. You can switch between them mid-attack? We got combos, y'all? Okay. Yo, what's good? It's Miss Dora. So recently, a few devs from the Veilguard team hosted another Discord Q&A that was over an hour long, giving out a bunch of good info on Dragon Age the Veilguard regarding options and customization, exploration, companions, combat, as well as story and lore. And while I didn't listen to the entire thing, I did come across a great post on Twitter by user Shinobi602. So shout out and thanks to them. That highlights all the points that the Q&A covered within those categories. So I want to read through all of them and give my thoughts, opinions, and reactions to all of these in order to get some more specific insight on how the game is shaping up outside of what trailers and gameplay reveals have shown to us. Save for the story and lore section, I won't be covering that bit. I do want to try to go into my first playthrough blind except for the trailer stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. I will be putting each of these details on screen as I cover them. So we're going to start this off with the options/customization category. Just going to go from top to bottom through all these details as they're listed here in the post. So first up, you can pause during cutscenes. Don't have a whole lot to say about that, right? It's not a revolutionary feature or anything like that. It is cool that you can do it. And I will say that I don't think you could pause in cutscenes during any of the other Dragon Age games. So it's dope to have it here. Next up, you can choose your undergarments in the character creator and toggle nudity on or off. Hey, having more options for playing RPGs is always a good thing. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who, hey, maybe they're not trying to see all that while they're playing these games. I myself, as well as many others, we don't mind seeing it. And I'm sure there's a large section of gamers that being able to see that kind of stuff is a perk of playing these games, right? Hey, more power to you, no shame in it, right? I will say there's probably some people out there that either choose to or maybe don't have a choice, but nevertheless, they end up playing their video games in like the living room TV or something like that, where everyone in the household can see it. So having an option like this is a good thing, right? I don't know how much is gonna help necessarily when you get those, let's say, spicy or risque scenes like you would from a romance, right? I don't see them helping out a whole lot with that. If that's going on living room TV while you're playing the game and everyone's around, good luck to you. But hey, maybe this option will still help with that nonetheless, right? Next, you can refund all of your skill points to respec into another specialization if you want. I personally think that's a good thing. Nevertheless, for my first playthrough, I'm going Spellblade. Spellblade for mage, that's what I'm doing, right? That archetype, the Gish or like Spellblade archetype, is my favorite type of character to build in this kind of setting. But nevertheless, I still think it's cool to have it, and it's going to be useful for me personally in subsequent playthroughs. I'm sure there is a section of gamers out there that may not like this, that consider maybe like, oh, choice and consequence is a big aspect of these games, and they consider that like, oh, that kind of rolls into the choices you make for building your character as well, like their abilities, specializations, and whatnot. Maybe they may not like this feature. They may want there to be like some consequence or finality to any choice you make with building your character. Hey, you know, you don't have to use this kind of thing. I personally think it's cool. It's going to be a great like quality of life feature. I think that's awesome. Next up, full list of accessibility features coming in the future before launch. I personally don't partake in accessibility features in games, so I don't have a whole lot to say about that, other than I'm pretty confident that BioWare is going to have a large sweeping amount of them. And for those of you that are interested in those features, they are coming later for you to take a look at. So there are a lot of, it says, quote, faction items gear tied to factions that become available as you help other factions get stronger, like armor from the Veil Jumpers faction that looks like it was made by Veil Jumpers and may be connected, like, you know, having electric damage or whatever, right? I'll say that's actually pretty interesting. I know that picking a faction plays a big role in your character and how they interact with the world and etc. I remember, I think, seeing that there is going to be faction gear and items. I thought that it was just going to be you get that for the faction that you chose. I didn't know you'd be able to partake in faction items belonging to other factions outside of the one that you picked during character creation. So that's cool that maybe you help out the Grey Wardens or like it says here, the veil jumpers, and they give you some gear for it that corresponds to their specific, group, right? I think that's cool. That's cool. This is a big one right here. Full transmog system. Now we talking full transmog system. Any piece of gear you find unlocks the appearance for that gear, and some can be cosmetic only. Example, you can dress up to look like a training dummy, so that's cool. So you might pick up some pieces of just like, I guess, like gear to wear that it's only for like the aesthetic of it, right? I love that, right? I love that. For Hogwarts Legacy, one of the best things about that game was its transmog system. I absolutely loved the transmog system in that game, and honestly, I'm one of those people in RPGs, style over stats any day. I'm always picking gear based on how it looks. I don't care if I'm rocking level 1 gear towards the end of the campaign when you gotta fight God or something like that. I don't care. If it looks better, I'm gonna wear it. It's as simple as that. And it's nice that I won't be forced to make that choice. I can have my good stats and be dripped out. Best of both worlds, everybody wins, right? I love it here. You can also transmog, right? You can also transmog both armor and casual wear. So if you want to walk around the lighthouse, that's your hub area, your home base area, in full armor, you can. That's cool. I like that. The casual wear of Inquisition was not it. Walk around in pajamas. You're walking around in pajamas in that game. So it's nice that this is an option here. All right, cool. You can save a character you create in the creator, so you don't have to start from scratch every time, though it is local to your PC or console, as Veilguard is an offline game. Okay, so I see what that is. So that's like in games like Final Fantasy 14, right? You can save appearance data. Let's say you customize a character's look a certain way, and you can just save that into a slot. And then next time you're creating a character, if you want to start over or start a new character, you just like a certain look, you just have it there. You don't have to go through all the sliders and all that stuff. I think that's a great feature. Lost my place a little bit. All right, lots of praise for the hair tech. There are some incredible beards in the character creator, like grander dwarven style beards. There's braids, beads, etc. Okay. But this is for the hair overall. Okay. So lots of praise for the hair tech. All right, so it looks like hair is going to be on point for this character creator. We'll just have to wait and see. I think some content creators and media, I think they've said they've gotten their hands on the character creator. They've gotten to mess around with it at events and stuff like that a bit early behind closed doors, and they're maybe not at freedom to talk about it yet or showing that stuff yet. I think that's what I heard, but nevertheless, hey, there's lots of praise for that. So I'm looking forward to a really dope character creator. Hey, delivered BioWare, don't be hyping it up. Don't hype it up and then it turns out to be trash, okay? Mods are gonna step in anyway and make a lot of dope stuff too, but it would be nice to have just a really dope character creator at launch, of course, right? You can hide things like combat damage numbers, okay, so you can, okay, let me stay on track. You can hide things like combat damage numbers, minimap, wayfinder markers, health bar, incoming attack indicators, and more. That's awesome. Yo, let me tell you, that is dope, because I watched that gameplay reveal and I think I noticed at least, there was no damage numbers. Me personally, I'm a huge sucker for damage numbers, y'all. I don't know about you guys. I didn't even get into Monster Hunter until World came out. And I believe World was the first game. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe World was the first game I saw, at least, that you got to see your damage numbers in Monster Hunter. I literally wasn't getting into Monster Hunter until that, right? So damage numbers are a big thing for me. Now, I can still enjoy a game without them, right? I would have played this game nonetheless, but it's huge for me that they're here. And it's going to be, all of this is phenomenal for a really immersive experience. There are some people that complain about how, I guess, modern games nowadays, like they tell you everything where to go. They show you where everything is. So hiding wayfinder markers and stuff like that, no mini map and stuff like that, or even making combat more difficult by blocking incoming attack indicators, and it says and more, all that is just going to be able, make you able to really fine tune this experience for you. If I really want to get lost in the world, hell, I might even turn off wayfinder markers. You know what I'm saying? Let me find out where the quest is telling me to go next. I don't want the game to tell me, right? So stuff like that is going to be really dope. I'm really digging the customization so far. That is really cool. Okay. Next we have all helmets can be worn by all races with one exception. Of course, the Qunari face paint. That makes sense, right? There are many variants. After that, each armor piece has standard colors, but most of them have a variety of color variant cosmetics, often aligned with different factions. Okay, so you're probably gonna have like a standard breastplate or something like that, maybe a standard like chainmail or something like that, right? And then it will have different colors based on the factions. I'm hoping they don't abuse that too much. I'm hoping there is a nice bit of variety to the armor piece, and I'm not finding 10 levels later on down the road, I'm not finding the exact same armor, just, oh, it's color different. Like, nah, like I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll see, right? And lastly, for the options and customization section, your in-game surname is based on your faction background choice and gets mentioned in dialogue a decent amount. That's left over from Inquisition. That's a great thing here. You've always had a surname, a family name given to you ever since Origins. That's always been the case. I think my elf was called Amel, last name Amel in Origins. I can't remember, right? And then you have Hog, and okay, voice break. Sorry about that. And then you have Hog, and then you have, of course, you have your Inquisition. You had various last names as well. So nothing different about that here, right? It is nice to see that it is going to be mentioned in dialogue a decent amount. So that's cool. Next up, the next category is exploration. Critical story missions are more linear, so they can be highly handcrafted. So that's an important distinction. It says specifically critical story missions are more linear. So what I'm hoping, okay, nope, it says that right there next. Yes, sir. So critical story missions are more linear, so they can be highly handcrafted. I'm cool with that. That is a lot of spectacle, and they're not saying that the entire game is going to be super railroady. I'm cool with that. They're just saying only for those super critical story missions, and that's going to allow them to create, again, a lot of spectacle, a lot of flair. I'm completely on board with that personally. As long as the entire game, this is supposed to be an RPG, so if the entire thing was like that, I would be bummed. But for just the critical story missions, I'm cool. Nothing to complain about there. This is what I saw out the corner of my eye and what I was hoping for. There are several large explorable open areas like Arlathan Forest, the Hossberg Wetlands, Crossroads, etc. Yes, I understand. Inquisition had its problems. The hinterland was a brutal introduction because it was like it was basically its own open world game map, even though it was just one of the maps in Inquisition. It was basically its own open world game, and there was a lot of fluff there, right? A lot of kind of menial tasks and missions that the game had for you to do there. That was basically your stereotypical open world side quest jank, right? Like on Ubisoft level stuff, like go here, collect 10 of this or whatever, right? Inquisition did have that for the hinterlands, but I did still like that there was open areas for me to go out and explore. Or it just has that too, right? You click a destination on your map and you go somewhere and you kind of explore. Yes, you have objectives and quest objectives and things you need to do in that location, but it isn't a straight path, a straight railroad words are hard. Railroad to that objective. You know what I'm saying? Like it isn't just a straight path. There's stuff that you can explore and do in these big locations. I'm loving that. It seems like truly the best of both worlds, which is what the combat system honestly kind of seems like. It seems like the best of what you liked about Mass Effect and Dragon Age put into one. And it seems like they're following suit with that in the exploration as well. I personally love that. Yes. Each companion has unique abilities outside of combat that can help you during exploration, puzzles, etc. I don't remember where I heard this or saw this. That is obviously, they said it in the Q&A, but I also heard that you as your character, I think, can learn that. I may have read it or heard it, I don't remember. But I know that your character, can also learn those unique abilities. At least I think I heard that somewhere. So that way, probably just with enough affinity or relationship progress with that person, either as a romantic partner or just as a friend with that companion, you learn their specific abilities, and it will allow you to navigate those kind of exploration things or puzzle things without that companion there. If not, it creates an opportunity where you really want to travel these areas with multiple different party makeups, which I'm also okay with too. Like, hey, if you explore the Arlathan Forest without Davrin, there's some things you might miss. So yes, go do all your stuff, do your fun quests, do everything you want to do in that area, but make sure you come back with Davrin. And it would probably be cool if I don't want your character to say, but maybe one of the companions, when you stumble across something that is like an obstacle that that other companion could have navigated, maybe Balara says, oh wait, if Davin was here, I'm sure that he could have navigated this for us. Something like that would be cool. And that's going to do it as well for exploration. Exploration is done. Next up, companions. This section is chunky, right? As far as companions are concerned, Tosh, the female Qunari. Okay, so they identified Tosh as female here. I've still seen some stuff that maybe suggests that Tosh is supposed to be non-binary, but on this post right here, it says Tosh, the female Qunari, is the youngest. Tosh is in their early 20s. Emmerich, we know who Emmerich is, right? The necromancer, the old dude, right? He's the oldest in his early 50s. Okay, cool. So we got a diverse party, age-wise. That's cool. Davrin, the Grey Warden companion, the male elf, is stern, thoughtful, and considerate, but also has a soft side. He has a strong sense of pride and maybe a rivalry with certain other companions. That's going to be interesting to see who he maybe doesn't get along as well with, right? He's also dedicated and gifted, and he's also a dedicated and gifted monster hunter. So he's probably going to get along with Tosh in that regard, but that's going to be cool to see. Dope. I like that there's layers to these companions. All right, peel these folks like onions. I like it. I like what I'm reading so far. All right. Okay, so this is probably important for some people to know. What you see is what you get with this next one. There are no romanceable NPCs outside of the companions, as a team wanted romance to focus on them. Okay, so what that means is you're not going to stumble across something like being able to romance Cullen like you were enabled in Inquisition, right? Or Josephine, right? Like those were people you could romance in that game, but they didn't travel with you through your party on adventures. They were just people you could romance, right? They're not doing that with here in the Veilguard. It's just people that can go on missions that can be part of your party. That is who you can romance, bar none. Okay, cool. At least they kind of just got that out of the gate. You don't have to go hunting around to see who you can build a romance with. Straight up front, the people you got in your party, those are your choices, player. All right, cool. Next up, teased that companions are having more strange abilities, and it may have something to do with the veil being in bad shape and more magic coming back to the world through tears. Interesting. I don't know if we'll get to see it later, but I think I saw mentioned somewhere that could also allude to why some people complain about it. And it is a valid complaint that during the high level warrior gameplay reveal, they didn't like how the warrior had all these flashy effects, like them summoning spectral shields, essentially. That's a mage thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's valid. But that this could also explain that maybe because the veil is damaged, rogues and warriors, just the world in general, has access and can do things that they were otherwise unable to do before. Now, I always said, like, hey, a thing that's for some people, I can see that's going to anger them. It's like, okay, so we have these warriors just doing all this magic based stuff. For me, I attributed things like the spectral shield. Let's just say that your items are enchanted, because enchanted items that allow normal humans to do non-human things, or non-humans, like non-magical, enchanted items that allowed non-magical persons to do magical things have existed in Dragon Age since Origins, right? So for me, the way I rationalize, okay, this warrior is summoning a bunch of spiked spectral shields around them that's very magic based, I just always rationalize it as, hey, that's what their equipment allows them to do. But it looks like there could be another reason for that here, with the veil being messed up in disrepair. But your companions are going to have those strange abilities as well. We saw a little bit of that with Scout Harding, so we'll see how that manifests as well. I believe that's probably going to explain what's happening to Lucanus as well, and we'll see how it manifests with the other companions too. There are many organic relationships between companions that develop throughout the game. For example, Nev and Balara form a sisterly bond. Cool. That kind of goes into story territory, but this person included it in the companions territory. But I mean, it's companions. I should have seen it coming, right? We already started. Let's keep it going. For example, Nev and Balara form a sisterly bond, which Tosh and Emmerich have great banter and don't see eye to eye on necromancy at all. So that's that's actually pretty typical, I think, of Dragon Age games in the past. You've seen these characters start to develop, not just with how you interact with them as the main player character, but them with each other. I believe in Inquisition, the companions would react to choices you made. For example, with Cole, like if you made him lean more towards his spirit side or his human side, the banter would reflect that, and as a result of what choice you made, maybe they've grown closer or grown to like him more, etc., right? So that's going to continue here in Veilguard. There is no hug companion button, but there are instances where you can hug companions. Some people are going to be mad about that one. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of people really want their platonic affection towards their companions. These are people that they are fighting, bleeding, and going to tooth and nail beside and for their friends, their companions, their party members. And people want the option to express that platonic love for them. I don't blame them. For me personally, it doesn't ruin anything, but I know a lot of people that might upset. It's cool that there is still going to be instances where you can do that. That's nice, because it's better to have that than not at all. But just like in Baldur's Gate 3, if there's a, hey, can I have a kiss button? Or even in Origins, whoever you romance, you could just walk up to him like, hey, give me a smooch. You know what I'm saying? It would be nice if you could do that as well. Like, hey man, let me give you a hug. Like that would be cool too. But at least it is gonna come up at certain points, and it's gonna mean a lot for a lot of people. So that's cool as well. Gifts return. Gifts are back. I don't think gifts weren't in Inquisition, but they weren't how they were implemented in Origins, if I'm not mistaken. But gifts were there. Okay, cool. Gifts return. You can find items out in the world in specific locations that you can buy. Okay, typo. You can find these items out in specific locations that you can buy and are very personal to your companions. These gifts will also be reflected in each of their rooms. That's so cool. So when you give a companion a gift, they're going to display it. That's actually really dope. I like that a lot. That's a really nice little personal touch. All companions have a personal arc and their quests are varied. That's typical of not only this kind of choice-driven RPG, but of BioWare Dragon Age games and as well Mass Effect games. It's very typical of this genre, choice-driven RPG genre. Divinity Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3. That's very typical of this, so it's just continuing here. Not too whole much to say about that. Some quests can expire based on choices you make or plot progression, but generally the team doesn't want you to miss out on stuff. Okay, example. Companions can show up in the world and spontaneously lead to adventures with them. Okay, so that's interesting. So some quests can expire, but they don't want to like completely like make everything consequence negative, right? Not consequence free, essentially, right? Like, oh, I'll just make whatever choice I want. It's not really going to affect the content I can see in the game. No, your choices are going to lock you out of certain things, potentially, it looks like. Or if you progress the main story without making sure you finish whatever side stuff you wanted to. But that's typical of Dragon Age games, so not a whole lot to say there. But it says right here, generally, the team doesn't want you to miss out on stuff. So I'm going to imagine that as you probably can't miss out on companions. For one, you probably aren't going to miss out on them. And two, just like in Inquisition, there's not, I don't imagine there's going to be a whole lot you can do, or really anything you could do that will anger your companions to the point, or make your companions upset with you to the point that they just leave the Veilguard, right? There's probably going to be stuff that angers them a lot, but they will likely see their mission of sticking with the Veilguard and saving the world as important enough to put their differences that they have with you aside. But they're probably going to hate you. That's how it was in Inquisition, and it looks like that's going to stay the case here. And again, you're probably not going to be able to miss out on just recruiting companions into your group, but we'll see. But it says right here, in general, the team doesn't want you to miss out on stuff, so it probably won't be as bad as it is with other games like Baldur's Gate 3, stuff like that. Companion relationships. Let's see. Companion relationships with each other will develop throughout the game. Like when you commit to someone romantically, there are various friendships and rivalries. Ooh. So does that mean some people are going to be upset if you romance another person? That will be interesting. That will be interesting to see. So maybe if you romance Nev, but Lara may not like that. She's like, hey, I liked you. What's going on now? We'll see. That's going to be interesting to see. That will be worth doing multiple playthroughs alone, just to see all those little cat fights and who doesn't like each other as a result of who you romance. I like that. That's dope. I like that. All the companions have favorite foods. Some on the team have varied skills in cooking. Balara and Lucanus are practically the team cooks. I love that. And this comes up in the game, and it's gonna come up in the game. That's cool. I've already fallen in love with these companions, and I haven't even touched the game yet. I'm loving this. All this is really cool. I'm wondering, they just mentioned that they all have favorite foods. I'm wondering if there's going to be an opportunity for you to present each companion with that favorite food. We'll see what happens. Companions feel like a found family. They become invested in each other, which shows up in many scenes, banter, hub interactions, same as previous games. Cool. I will say 2 did not feel like that. The team didn't want the game to feel like a theme park just for the player, but for companions to feel like their own person and living in the world. That's dope. I think Inquisition pulled that off pretty well. And when I actually say the only game that didn't pull off this specific thing they're mentioning is 2. In 2, it felt like everyone was there for Hawk, was there for you, kind of like what this is saying, very theme park-esque, which, hey, that game was rushed. You didn't really have time like that. But in Origins, Inquisition, and it seems like here, it feels like everyone's sticking around for each other, the collective, rather than just your character. I'll say Origins probably too. Origins, everyone was kind of, follow the Grey Warden type of thing. Maybe they weren't there for each other, so I'll retract that a little bit. But Inquisition at least felt like, hey, we're here for each other type of feel, and it's gonna feel like that too. All right, like I said, the companion section was fat. Okay, it was a big section, but now we are on to combat, which is the last section in this video. All right, so combat combos. Mages apply weakened / overwhelmed debuffs. Those are primers, and also detonate the Sunder debuff. Okay, so each class is going to have a debuff that they can charge and then one that they can detonate. Sweet. Rogues apply weakened, makes sense, and Sunder, and detonate overwhelmed. Okay, and warriors apply sundered / overwhelmed and detonate weakened. This rock, paper, scissors style relationship can be one of the benefits of having one of each class. Gear, skills, and runes can also break this paradigm. Lots of flexibility. So you say that this rock, paper, scissors style relationship can be one of the benefits of having one of each class. Then why are we at 3 party members for this game, BioWare? Like, come on, man. Like, as hype as I am for this game, that choice still is getting to me. And even here, it seems like it affects things. Like, all right, I understand they're going for a Mass Effect type feel. And in Mass Effect, you've always only had 2 companions. I get it. But would it really have been... I got too close. Would it really have been so hard to do the Mass Effect and Dragon Age combined style combat that's here in Veilguard, but do it with a full party of 4? Would it really have been that hard? Come on, like I said, in a previous video, I always play a mage in these games. And then with the 3 remaining party members, that leaves enough room for me to do one of each class. But in this game, I'm really feeling probably Balara or Nev for my first romance option. So I'm going to have them with me majority of the time, which only leaves 1 slot left for either a rogue or a warrior, not both, like I've always done. And per their own words here with this, I'm going to miss out on some of that rock, paper, scissors dynamic. Now, they do write that gear, skills, and runes can also break that paradigm, that there's apparently lots of flexibility, but I'm hoping I don't miss out on it too much, because as much as I would like to have one of each in the group, I'm going to be a mage for sure in this game. And I'm going to bring either Nev or Balara with me on majority of things. I'm pretty committed to that off the rip already. So I'm hoping I'm not missing out on too much with that, but hey, that's a choice and consequence in these games, I guess. What can you do, right? But still, I'm not feeling the whole 3 party member thing. My opinion on Veilguard has very much changed the more that we've seen from this game. But one thing that I am just not feeling is that 2-person party member thing, whatever, right? Each class has 2 weapon slots. Ooh, and you could switch between them. You could switch between them mid-attack? We got combos, y'all? Okay. For example, mages can use a staff or orb plus dagger combination. So that is the item. It's a staff or the combo of orb and dagger. You can attack with the staff and then switch mid-attack to orb plus dagger. I ain't gonna hold you. That's dope. That is really cool, yo. That is really cool. Okay. I know Dragon Age has always been mages have staves. That has always been the thing. But also since the beginning of Dragon Age, it's always been, hey, arcane warrior, right? So I've always played this spellblade archetype because for me, the spellcasters that I enjoy most in fantasy settings are non-stabbed wizards. I'm sorry for the Lord of Rings lovers, Gandalf. I know Harry Potter. I know, well, they have wands, but still wands are worse. Wands are worse actually. But yeah, I've always liked doing magic with either an orb, a book, or just your hands. To me, that's the coolest. Staff is better than a wand. Don't get me wrong. A staff is cooler than having a wand. And in Dragon Age Absolution, they animated the staff stuff really well. And in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, the staff work was excellently animated to where it did alleviate some of that for me. But yo, being able to just do, you know, staff stuff and then switch to an orb and dagger, that's going to be sick. I wonder if you do the Spellblade specialization, are you just doing orb and dagger stuff? Or does that mean you get to use like actual swords, great swords, or other one-handed martial weapons? Or two-handed even. We'll see. But that little bullet right there is dope. I really think the combat, well, it'll remain to be seen how tactical and strategic things get because we don't have an idea of what the hardest difficulty is like or what have you. There's lots of tactical expression options, it seems like. You know, we got the primers, detonators, buffs, debuffs, and then there was one more aspect to that as well. But and you know, you're picking your targets for your allies, of who you want them to focus on. There's a lot of aspects to the tactical combat here, but we didn't see how centralized it is. And just like with my complaint of Origins, all that stuff is great, but is combat just going to be able to be solved the same way each time? That's what we have to see, right? I don't think that's going to be the case because even in Inquisition, I couldn't just steamroll my way through everything as a mage because of things like armor and barrier. I couldn't do that, right? I couldn't just like I did in Origins. In Origins, I could use the same rotations of abilities in the exact same order in every single combat, damn near, right? I could press 1 through 8 in the exact same order in every combat in Origins, and it really wouldn't change a whole lot. In Inquisition, to a lesser extent too, but in Inquisition, that was not the case. I'm hoping that's the case here. But as far as that build expression, it looks like that's gonna be here in spades, y'all. It really does, because that whole switching in between weapons mid-combat, that's gonna be really cool. That is gonna be so dope. I can't wait to see what that looks like. You can also use that to your advantage with elementals. For example, a fire attack, and then, quickly switching to a necrotic orb dagger combo for extra damage. Ooh, I like that. This sounds dope. I'm not gonna lie to you. This sounds really cool. Okay, this is one thing I was wondering about. Cool. Next up, bringing a tank into battle. Is it required? Even on harder difficulties. The team realized that players get attached to companions and always want to bring certain ones along every time, so they built and designed gameplay to accommodate a variety of builds and playstyle. Cool. Again, that's great. I still want combat to be varied and difficult though, for those that are choosing those higher difficulties. I still want that. So that is cool. That is great. That's something I'm worried about because, like, again, we have less party members. I'm mad about that, right? But if I don't feel like I need a warrior in my party to do the tanking part of things, that's cool. And my character is going to kind of fill that role anyway, because like I said, I'm rolling a Spellblade. But it's nice that we don't need to bring that tank. So now that one remaining slot that I have left for a rogue or warrior, it's nice that I'm essentially like, oh yeah, it's that one slot left for rogue or warrior, but really you gotta make it warrior. It's nice that that's not the case, that okay, I can choose rogue or warrior for that last slot. I'm cool with that, right? So I'm loving that. I'm loving that so far, but please still make things difficult for those of us that want that and want to have that difficulty expression, right? The mage class can learn abilities from all elements. I was worried about that too. Not tied to any specialization. Those specializations like Evoker can make it easier to get into ice spells. Okay, I was worrying about that because ice is my favorite magical element, essentially. Like in elemental magic, ice is my favorite. And I knew that Nev was the ice mage. I was like, dang, is she gonna steal my shine? Like, am I not gonna get to be the ice mage? But it looks like all the elements are on the table. It's just that a specialization such as Evoker is going to make getting into certain elements easier, or maybe you'll have more options with those elements. Cool. I'm loving that. Elemental effects were a large focus while developing the game. So that meant that all classes needed to be visually represented so no one felt left out. For example, rogues and warriors can seem a little bit more magical. We've seen that. Like in the first bit of 20-minute gameplay they showed us, the rogue starting ability was these electric daggers that they like flipped across the ground, and it was like an arc of electricity. So we're already seeing that. So example, rogues and warriors can seem a little bit more magical. Warriors were one of, I 100% agree with this. Warriors were one of the least favorite classes. So the team wanted them to be more visually interesting and impactful. You can make a build that's more physical based, not as flashy if you want to. Yes, 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 yes. This is the last point, by the way. But yes, because while I personally didn't feel the same way, I empathized with and felt it was a valid criticism for people that were like, yo, the warrior's too flashy. Like, I don't like the whole spectral shield thing. I don't like that they're throwing essentially this out of nowhere spear and chain type of thing that has like this glow to it, the fire sword. There were people that didn't like that. Like I said, you could kind of headcanon it as like, okay, it's just the enchantment items that have always been there. But for some people, they're like, no, I liked that my warrior, that my rogue was mundane. And it says right here, you can make a build that's more physical based if you want to. It's not as flashy, right? So that's great. Options, people. I love it. Options for your character. If you've always been someone who's been a little bit interested in warrior, or even that you've played warrior before or rogue before in Dragon Age games, but you've just looked at mage with that little bit of just little bit of jealousy, like, dang, they have all these cool expressive abilities and I don't got none of that, right? And you've always looked at them like that. Now it's like, no. Everybody has flashy, vibrant effects of their combat abilities in this game now. And if you want it to be more physical based, that's an option. And I love that. What I'm imagining it's like is in the high level gameplay preview, we got to see the drop kick. And I'm sure there's just going to be a bunch of more abilities that are just basic, maybe slash combos, but are still really cool and kind of like dexterous, but they're like slash combos or like the drop kick or stuff more akin to that. And you can just pick those abilities if you want to. But all in all, man, that's the last bullet point, by the way. But all in all, man, this all looks incredible. I'm not going to hold y'all. Like, honestly, some of the stuff I've been reading about Dragon Age of Veilguard has gotten me more excited about this game than what they've shown us in the trailers and such. All of these features, from the options or customization, exploration, companions, combat, a lot of this stuff has dispelled some of my concerns. And I love that. I think that's really dope because, like, a lot of my concerns about, okay, do I need a tank? No, you don't need one. Just in general, a lot of what's in this Q&A really makes this game seem even more appealing to me. I don't think I'm going to pre-order just yet. I think I'm going to hold off on a pre-order. I'm not quite sure just yet. I'm trying to like not pre-order games as much because I don't want to give essentially developers or publishers essentially like, hey, a guaranteed sale, like, hey, you're guaranteed to get my money or whatever. But this game does look a lot more exciting than before the first trailer that we got. I was scorned by BioWare. I was like, man, they're not the same company. But this game is looking like, from the gameplay and the trailers and reading like from all this info we got here, it's reading like they've learned a lot of their lessons from the failures that were Andromeda and Anthem. And that's what I wanted this game to be. I was not going to be out here preaching that this game is going to be infallible beyond criticism, right? That's never what I wanted. But what I wanted this game to end up being was a game that it seemed like BioWare learned their lessons from, and that's what it looks like so far. So overall, I'm really excited about this. What I got for y'all though, in the comments section, what detail, what bullet point specifically was most exciting for you? That when you heard me read it, or that when you saw it pop up on the screen when I edited it later on, what is it that you saw that was like, yo, holy crap, that is so cool? That is like, yes, that is like the thing that has you most excited throughout all these bullet points. For me, there's so much here. It's between the transmog system, but I won't say that because we already knew about that before this. But for me, it might be the weapons thing, you know, having the orb and dagger combo and being able to switch mid combat. I don't know, like there's just a lot here that's really good and exciting. I am going to put this post that I read all this information from. Again, thank you so much, Shinobi602, for compiling everything. I am going to put this in the description so y'all can see it and read it for yourselves. And then also the story section, that's a funny way I said that. The story section with a few details as well is in this post as well. I'm not going over any of that stuff. Like I said, I'm okay with trailer spoilers because that's part of the course for the games industry, right? They put some level of spoilers on all their trailers. Really, they gotta show something. I'm cool with that. But outside of trailers and gameplay reveals, I'm really trying to go in as spoiler light as I can. But it's gonna be in there for you if you want it. But yo, that's gonna do it for this video. There's so much good stuff here. I am way more excited for Dragon Age the Veilguard than I was a few months ago. And I was still replaying the old games at that point. I was just, oh, okay, Dread at that time. Oh, Dreadwolf might be coming out, you know, so I should go back and play these. No, actually. I was like, okay, Veilguard got revealed, the actual name of the game. Oh, we got the first trailer of the companions. Oh, looks okay. I'll go back and play these games. But as more and more stuff has been shown, like, yo, this is really damn cool. This is really cool. So yeah, hey, that's going to do it for this video, y'all. As always, I appreciate you guys and thank you for watching. Again, let me know down below in the comments what bullet point or what detail was most exciting for you. And as always, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Y'all be easy.